Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Sean's Movie Crusades. My name is Sean Wasserkrug and I'm here to review all the latest movies in theaters as well as any as you recommend, whether they be recent releases or old school movies. And today we are going to be reviewing the first film to come out in 2019, the horror film The Escape Room. Now before we get into the review, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe to the channel so that way you're kept up to date with all the latest videos. And also you can follow us on Facebook at Sean's Movie Crusades, and Twitter at SMovieCrusades, and Instagram at Sean's Movie Crusades. So the first movie of the year to be released is a horror film, which is not a big shocker in terms of January movie releases, and it's The Escape Room. Now, when I saw the trailer for this film, it kind of gave me a little bit of a Saw / Cube kind of feel to it. Just kind of like the, Cube. Cube is a movie that came out, I think, around 1999. And it was basically a bunch of rooms, like murder rooms, that people had to try to find ways to get out of. And then, of course, the Saw franchise, a bunch of strangers thrown into a uncomfortable situation. They have to do what they can to survive, whether that be sacrificing themselves or people around them. So it had a very vibe to it based on the trailers. But the thing that kind of intrigued me about the movie itself was that the cast was actually relatively solid. There's a few standouts of the cast. I mean, you got Deborah Ann Woll. Many people might know her from True Blood or the Netflix series Daredevil and Punisher. You also have Tyler Labine. He's kind of a character actor to some, but I mean, he's a personal favorite of mine. Some people might know him from Reaper, Deadbeat, Tucker and Dale, and also he's also on the new show New Amsterdam. And then also another one would be Logan Miller. He was one of the standout casts in one of the better movies of last year, Love, Simon. So the cast actually looked relatively solid going into the film, and then you had this intriguing thing with escape rooms, which is a really big thing going on today. A lot of people love doing escape rooms. I personally have never done one myself, and this movie probably tells me why I shouldn't. So basically, the general plot of this film is these 6 people each get boxes. They're kind of basically puzzle boxes, and they have to kind of solve them. And in the process of solving them, they get an invitation to an escape room. And the big hook for them all is that they all have, if they survive the escape room, they win $10,000. And so you got these 6 strangers all kind of in a room, and basically they get thrown into the mix of all these crazy escape rooms that they finally realize are real, and that the risks are actually their lives, and that it's not a game, it is actually between life and death between these people, and they either have to work together or turn on each other to survive each and every room. And that's kind of basically the general plot. There's not really much more than that. There is a mystery element to each character. Each character is just a little bit different than the next, and you can tell that they're all hiding something. So each room kind of divulges or gives up more character information from each character in the game. So that way the story kind of unfolds as the tricks get higher and higher and higher in each room. Basically, in general movies, when movies get dumped in July, unless they're Oscar favorites, they are usually kind of bad films that the studios just wanted to dump and get rid of, and so they dump them in July because they know most people aren't going to movies in January, either because of the holiday season, or if they do, they're going to see the Oscar movies. So more times than not, your poorer films or less recommended movies usually will pop up in January. And so this was the first one to come out, so I was a little kind of hesitant because it was coming out in January, but last year we did get, or not last year, but 2 years ago we did get Split. So that was a shocker, and of course we're going to be getting Glass here in the next couple weeks. So January might not so much be the dump station of bad movies as it once was. So basically, let's go into the new format for the reviews here to try to keep things short. What worked? What worked with the movie? Basically, the rooms are all fun. Each room is unique in its own way. They all have something that ties to one of the characters in the film. And usually halfway through each room, you kind of figure out what the tie-in is. But they're all real unique and exciting in their own different ways. A standout for me would probably be the upside down pool room, like pool table room, which a lot of people probably have seen in the trailers. They're really awesome. The winter one was a pretty cool one as well. So basically, each room, like I said, standouts, and without the rooms being exciting, there really is no movie. The performances are solid for the most part for a horror film. I mean, like I said, Deborah Ann Woll, Tyler Labine, Logan Miller, they're probably the standouts in the film. You also have Taylor Russell. Many people might know her from the Netflix series Lost in Space. She's alright in the film, but she is kind of playing it almost like she's sedated most of the time until things start really getting crazy. And then you also got Jay Ellis. He plays Jason, and he's just kind of playing that stockbroker schmuck throughout the entire film. He's just a dick for no reason. But then he's got, like I said, hidden elements just like everyone else does. So you got that character, and then there's also what's his name? I always do this. Danny, played by Nick Dudani. And he's kind of the escape room aficionado who does a ton of escape rooms. He's a gamer. He's just one of those guys who really, even though as things are getting really crazy and too real, he's that guy who's just way too positive about it, and he's real excited about everything. Like I said, Deborah Ann Woll, she basically plays an army vet in the film. Definitely a different change for her as a character, and she actually does a very good job with it. Tyler Labine, he plays a truck driver with a hidden past, and he's kind of more of the stable person of the entire group. He's the guy who's almost kind of the father figure of the entire group is what he plays, and he does a pretty good job of it. And he does have some great lines in the movie as well. And then, like I said, Taylor Russell as Zoe, she's kind of the college student. She's real reserved. She doesn't really go out or are friends with anybody, and so this is kind of her way of like breaking out and doing something new and scary. Except she didn't know what she was really getting herself into. But yeah, and Logan Miller, he basically plays a loser character. He works at a grocery store. He clearly has a drinking problem, and he just doesn't. He can't move ahead in his life. He's just stuck. And so like I said, each one of these characters, that's their basic general characters, but they all have something that's hidden about them that you find out later in the film, and why they're all connected in some way. But yeah, like I said, the chemistry between them throughout the movie, like it's kind of rough in the beginning because they're all just kind of going insane or crazy hectic based on the situations. But once they all kind of like start to work together in each room, you really start to see the chemistry between each character starting to flow, and the cast really starts working together in a lot of ways, to the point where you actually start caring about every single character in this film. So it's definitely the performances for a horror film are actually pretty solid. There's not really a weak link, in the bunch. So each character has their vital purpose in the film overall. And like I said, as the mystery unfolds throughout the movie, as why someone's doing this to them, the reason why they're together, their hidden stuff themselves, it actually keeps you going through each scene. So basically, that's also kind of an intriguing option to the film. And another highlight for me is that I'm personally not a fan of torture porn, which is the term that a lot of people are using for like Saw, Hostel, where it's just like gruesome, just almost torture type stuff. And this movie, while it comes off that way in the trailers, it's really not torture. It's kind of more of just a mental mind mess up, without cussing. You guys know the word I want to say. But yeah, it's not really bloody at all. There's maybe, I think, 1 or 2 shots of blood, but it's more just them having to work together to solve the room, and then just the chances of them dying in each room. But it's not a gory fest by any means. So that was actually a positive for me as well, because I wasn't really in the mood to watch anything that's like a Saw film where it's like you have to cut layers of fat off your stomach to survive and blah 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 blah. It's nothing like that. So for people who are queasy to gore, you don't have to worry about that with this film. Perfectly honest, this poster is probably the most gruesome the film actually gets in its own sense. So that is a plus in my side for this film. But yeah, so that's all that works for the movie. What does not work for the movie overall is that I I wish there was a little bit more character development going into the beginning of the film. They basically only show you 3 stories, or 3 kind of introductions to the 6 characters. So basically, once everyone gets together, there's just 3 other characters that are just kind of thrown in, and you have no idea who they are or what they are. They kind of just feel like fodder. But I mean, obviously, throughout each room, we start learning about their characters more and more. I just personally wish that, 2 out of the 3 that we didn't get stories of, I would have liked to have had a little bit more of what their life was like before the rooms. Like we did with the other 3 characters at the start of the movie. Like I said, throughout the movie, you get the stories you want. I just would have liked to have seen what they were like before the rooms. Another negative to the film as well is that there's certain situations where the dialogue is just rough and bad. Sometimes there's just bad lines delivered in the movie, and it's not necessarily the actors or actresses' fault in the film. It's just that it's just a rough line, and it's just a line that does not work in certain situations. But they try the best they can. It's just it's more of a script issue than it is a performance issue. But for the most part, they do a pretty good job. It's just that sometimes the dialogue is a little rough. The big problem with this movie is, as intriguing and as in-depth the movie gets with the characters and the rooms and stuff like that, the last 10 minutes are completely and utter horrible crap. The movie is moving along pretty well, and it's going through pretty smoothly. And we get to an end point, and I'm like, okay, they're going to end it like this. Not necessarily the way I would love to end it, but that's a solid ending. And then it goes to black, and then they decide, nope, we're going to bring it back. And they decide to go with 10 more minutes of the film. And the last 10 minutes feels like an entirely different film than what we got. I mean, it's very separated from the rest of the movie. It's basically them trying to leave loose ends or openings for sequels. And basically because of that, it doesn't flow with the rest of the film. And it's like where the initial ending should be, I think that would have made it a lot tighter and a better movie overall than the last 10 minutes that they tacked on, because it got really utterly ridiculous in the last 10 minutes. And because of that, it actually hurts the overall feel of the film for me. I mean, the main goal that they were trying to do is to say that this is a bigger thing than just these 6 characters, and that they want to expand this further, and they're hoping that this movie does well enough that they can branch out their own franchise and sequels. And so they wanted to kind of do that in a way, but I feel like by doing that, it also kind of takes it out of the escape room kind of feel, because I feel like they could actually do a pretty good franchise with this. They could do multiple sequels with just different characters dealing with the escape rooms and stuff like that, kind of like Saw does. But the way they ended the movie, it definitely kind of takes it into a different atmosphere for potential other films, unless this is the way they just think that it's going to end for how this movie ends, and then they start over with new characters. I mean, they could do that too, but then it just feels like the last 10 minutes was kind of pointless then. So that right there is probably the biggest negative, is basically the last 10 minutes of the film. So for people who really enjoyed the movie, when you get to the first ending, and you guys will know what that ending is, I almost recommend you stop it. If you're not watching it in a theater. I mean, if you're streaming it, I'd stop it right there and just say, that's the end of the movie. That was a really good movie. Instead of watching the last 10 minutes. Because I feel like the last 10 minutes, like I said, it goes over top. It feels like a different part of the film. And it really messes with the overall flow of the movie. So overall thoughts of the film itself, I actually felt that this was a really solid first movie of 2019. And it was a solid horror film. Like I said, it's very intense. Each escape room is crazy in its own way. Solid performances throughout the film. There was some dialogue issues. And up till the last 10 minutes, I actually was enjoying the film overall. So I definitely, for people who like horror films, but aren't necessarily looking for super gory films, but just more like a mind F, I think you guys would actually enjoy Escape Room. You just had to kind of throw the last 10 minutes out the window. And I would actually, if they decide to make this a franchise and do multiple sequels, I would be intrigued to actually watch more of these. Because the elements of these escape rooms were super intriguing and they were fun to watch. And as long as they keep, interesting characters and good actors in these movies, then you have me signed up. If they decide to go the route of the way the last 10 minutes are, I would probably at least give the sequel another a watch. But if it falls apart like the last 10 minutes, then it's probably a dead franchise walking. But if it stays true to basically the first hour and a half of the movie, I feel like this could be a potential awesome horror franchise that they could continue with multiple films down the road. And so that's really my overall thoughts of Escape Room. I think you guys will enjoy it. If the trailer intrigued you, definitely give it a look. If you were a little on the fence about it, like I said, I think you guys will enjoy it for the most part, like I said, except for the last 10 minutes. But yeah, that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Tried to be a little quicker on these reviews now. There are just certain films that are going to take longer to talk about, such as, like, the bigger movies. Like, there's no way I could do, like, Avengers review in under 20 minutes. It's just not going to happen. But certain movies like these, I'm going to try to keep them a little more tighter, a little more on point, less rambling as I'm doing right now. Just so that way you guys can enjoy more videos and not just go, oh, wow, this is an hour-long video. I don't have an hour. Because some people don't. So I'm trying to keep it a little bit tighter for you. This one went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I hope this gave you guys some insight on the movie and whether or not you guys wanted to see it or didn't want to see it. And if you guys have anything you want to say, feel free to leave it in the comments below, or you can leave a comment on the new Twitter page, Instagram, or Facebook page. And like I said, that you're going to see those going down right below you, right below the screen of all the stuff you want to go. And with the new format, the way I'm breaking it down, if you guys want to be able to skip to certain parts, if you guys don't like the intro, you guys don't want to learn about the plot, I'll timestamp from now on for trailer or for the reviews. I'll timestamp where the what works, what doesn't work, and overall thoughts are. So you guys can just jump to those if you want, or if you guys just want to watch all the way through, you totally can. But yeah, like I said, don't forget to hit that like button and go ahead and share this if you guys feel like it's worth sharing. And I hope you guys follow me on all the formats that I said at the beginning of the video. And until next time, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.